Hello everyone, this is Jason Tondro and I am your professor, and I'm recording a short video just to say hey and introduce myself and tell you a little bit about who I am and where I come from and my background and why I'm qualified to do what we're doing. I got my PhD at the University of California, Riverside, and my specialties are medieval and Renaissance lit on one hand, and on the other hand comics and graphic novels. So I have like the best job in the world. I get to study Chaucer and Shakespeare and Milton and Beowulf and all those guys on one hand, all the stuff that you think are really, really boring. And then I get to study Batman and the Avengers with my right hand, all the stuff that's really, really fun and cool. So I actually wrote a book on this, so I'm not pitching my book. Do not buy my book. Do not go out and buy my book because it's really expensive. I don't set the price. The publisher sets the price. But I actually got to write a book on this called Superheroes of the Roundtable: Comics Connections to Medieval and Renaissance Literature. And it grew out of my dissertation, which I finished a few years ago back at UC Riverside. And it's all about exactly what I'm talking about. It sort of takes classic literature, all the dead white guys, and comics and graphic novels, and kind of brings them together to figure out what do they have in common and what do they say to each other. And what we find out, actually, is that people who read comics have actually secretly already been training themselves to become really good readers of medieval and Renaissance literature in ways that they may not even realize. That, you know, when you talk about knights who wear big symbols on their chest that embody their values, and they fight monsters who are all allegorical representations of sins or evil, it deals with a lot of the same questions that modern superhero comics deal with, just in a language that today, in the 21st century, we don't really recognize. Now, what does that mean for you? What that means for you is that I am perfectly trained to teach exactly the class we're here to do, which is World Lit 2111. All of the medieval and Renaissance literature that we're reading in this class is exactly what I was trained on. You're going to get some, through me, you're going to get some instruction from some of the greatest English lit scholars in America. Not me, but from the guys that taught me and the guys that taught them. When I am not teaching World Lit, I do a lot of composition instruction. You've probably seen I teach 1101 and 1102 here. Those are both semesters of our first year freshman comp program. And I have been teaching writing at every level of composition that you can imagine, from what you guys call learning support, which we used to call developmental writing back at UC, to all the way through the first year to even, you know, both 1101 and 1102, and at UC we even had sort of an 1103. We had kind of a third semester of freshman comp. So every level that you can think of, I've been teaching for, well, shoot, going on like 10 years now, depending on whether or not you count the years that I was teaching while I was also working on my dissertation. And enrolled as a PhD student at UC. So I have taught 1,000 students and I have read 10,000 papers. Okay, so you're getting lots of experience in that regard. I also teach our 1-credit global issues class on international comics and graphic novels. Some of you need to take this class, others of you don't. Depending on when you enrolled and what catalog was relevant the year that you first enrolled. But our college has an emphasis on global awareness and global politics and global cultures, and as part of that, many of you are required to take a 1-credit class that we call Global Issues, and those classes can be taught in many different ways depending on which faculty member is in charge of them. When I teach the class, I teach that other hand. I teach all the comics and graphic novels, and we read comics from Russia and Belgium and France and Italy and Nigeria and Iran, and we read some manga. So we read comics and graphic novels from all around the world. It's a wonderful experience, and I love doing it. I do that every semester. It's always the very first global issues class to fill up. Okay, because people see comics in the title, and the class sells itself. I am also very involved in our American Studies program. For those of you who may not be aware of this, American Studies is our newest degree program at Coastal Georgia. It is called American Studies. It has 2 tracks. One of those is a Cultural Studies and Communications track. Now, you may not really know what that means, but basically it's a classic liberal arts degree. Now, when I say the word liberal, a lot of you think, oh, that means you're some kind of radical liberal. That's not the kind of liberal that we're talking about. Liberal arts means, in this context, all that liberal arts means is history, literature, art, philosophy, foreign language, and music. It's all of this kind of, those are known as the liberal arts. And our American Studies program is a liberal arts degree. It's a classic liberal arts degree with an American emphasis. So this semester I'm teaching Introduction to Cultural Studies, which is essentially a literary theory class. Dr. Blyle teaches in Michael Hannaford in Camden, and so on. And so we're all working together to create a program for all of you that would like to take, for example, an English degree or a history degree, but we don't offer any of those yet. So we're offering an interdisciplinary degree that you can go in and you can say, well, I want to do philosophy, or I want to do art, or whatever. And you can take American Studies and you can make it work for you to fulfill all of those. And then you can go on to do whatever you would do with an art degree using your American Studies degree. It's kind of a catch-all while we work on individual degree programs for all of those fields. So if anyone of you have any questions about American Studies, or you're curious, maybe you'd like to do an English degree, or a history degree or something, you write me a note, talk to me, and we can figure out how you can fit into the American Studies program. It's the only American Studies program in the state for undergraduates. There are graduate level American Studies and PhDs in American Studies in Georgia, but we have the only undergraduate American Studies program in the state. Comics, World Lit, Global Issues, Comp. It's pretty much where I'm coming from. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that you should really need to know about me. Probably not. It's probably more than you already want to know. Okay, so it's a very brief sort of get to know your professor. My office is in Academic Commons North 221, and my contact information. Oh, a couple of other things is jtondro at ccga.edu. I also blog occasionally. I have a blog where I write about comics or literature or some of my hobbies, which include a lot of video gaming and stuff like that. So you can find that on drcomics.blogspot.com. That's what I blog as Dr. Comics. And I also have, of course, this YouTube channel, which I put occasional posts up to chat with folks. You can also find me on Facebook. That's about it. All right, so listen, shoot me a note if you have any questions. Otherwise, it's good to meet all of you. You all now know much more about me than I know about almost all of you. Okay? All right, thanks.